Thanksgiving 1942. Phoenix, Arizona. An off-duty soldier gets drunk. A woman slaps him. He hits her with a bottle. But what happened next wasn't just a bar fight. It was an uprising. It was black soldiers saying, "Enough," and America tried to erase it from history. The 364th Negro Infantry Regiment arrived in Phoenix in June 1942. 3,000 men, all black, all segregated, all living in what one Army official later described as tar paper shacks that turned into sweltering furnaces in the Arizona summer. They were guarding German prisoners of war at Papago Park while being treated worse than the enemy they were watching. According to Phoenix New Times reporting, the white officers commanding the 364 treated the black enlisted men with contempt. When soldiers tried writing letters to their senators and congressmen complaining about their treatment, the officers intercepted the correspondence and used it against them. They were labeled troublemakers for demanding basic respect. But something was building. Something the military couldn't control. On November 26, 1942, soldiers were allowed to leave base for the first time in over a month to celebrate Thanksgiving. At the Alhambra Bar on 12th and Washington, a drunk soldier from the 364 hit a black woman with a bottle. Black military police from the 733 MP unit arrived to arrest him. He resisted, brandished a knife. Then officers fired. According to historical records, one bullet ricocheted off the ground and struck a soldier of the 364th. That bullet didn't just wound a man. It ignited something that had been waiting to explode. Soldiers returned to camp and told their brothers what happened. The story spread. The anger spread. Over 150 soldiers armed themselves, piled into vehicles, and headed downtown. They weren't going to take it anymore. According to archived accounts, soldiers dispersed from jeeps firing handguns, rifles, and high-caliber automatic weapons. The 733rd Military Police were ordered to Camp Papago Arsenal and issued weapons. Armored vehicles rolled through downtown Phoenix hunting black soldiers. When they found houses where soldiers were hiding, they didn't negotiate. According to eyewitness reports, they used .50 caliber machine guns to blast holes the size of a fist through residential homes. Phoenix police officer Leon Thompson was walking his beat down 16th Street when the gunfire erupted. He was pinned down. For 4 hours, he laid in the street playing dead, waiting for it to stop. By the end of the night, 3 soldiers from the 364th were dead. 11 more were wounded. Over 200 were arrested and held in jail for a week. 15 soldiers were court-martialed for disobeying orders, mutiny, and inciting a riot. They received sentences of up to 50 years in federal prison. One soldier, Private Joseph Sipp, was sentenced to death. It took President Franklin D. Roosevelt himself to commute that sentence. But here's the quote that captures what the military refused to acknowledge. According to a November 1942 memo from Truman Gibson, the civilian aide to the Secretary of War, he reported to his superiors, "This continuing wave of violence may lead to rioting at any time, and certainly it is raising havoc with the spirit of Negro soldiers, many of whom have reached the stage that they would rather fight their domestic enemies than the foreign foe." Let that sink in. American soldiers had reached the point where they'd rather fight American racism than fight Nazi Germany. The system created that. The segregation created that. The humiliation created that. And when they finally fought back, they were labeled mutineers. They were sentenced to decades in prison. Their families never saw them again. The Army's punishment was swift and brutal. Months after the Phoenix riot, the entire 364th was transferred to Camp Van Dorn in Mississippi, one of the most violently segregated places in the nation. The Army didn't send them to Europe, didn't send them to the Pacific. They sent them to Mississippi as punishment for daring to resist. What happened next remains partially a mystery. Records are incomplete. Official accounts differ. But what we know is that black soldiers continued to resist, continued to demand dignity, and the military continued to crack down. The Phoenix Thanksgiving Day Riot isn't taught in schools. It's not in most history books. But it matters, because it shows that black soldiers didn't wait for permission to fight for their freedom. They fought back against the same government they were supposed to be serving. They lost that battle, but they changed something. They forced America to see the contradiction it was living, asking black men to fight fascism while practicing fascism at home. If this story moved you, if you're angry that you never learned this in school, comment below. Tell me what you think about soldiers being imprisoned for demanding respect in their own country. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs to understand that resistance to racism didn't start in the 1960s. It started in the streets of Phoenix on Thanksgiving night, 1942. Subscribe to Ikemafuna History TV. We tell the stories America tried to bury, the conflicts America tried to forget, the truth America is still trying to hide. These soldiers deserve to be remembered. Make sure they are.